Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. This is day 3 of the Love Mastery game. Kerri Hummingbird here to greet you. I hope that you have been enjoying the last couple of days with the element of fire and the element of water. And now today we move into the element of air. And before we continue, I want to share with you that there is coming up a beautiful opportunity with Sacred Living course that's coming up to tap into the 4 directions and the power animals. And as part of this, I'm also going to throw in the bands of protection, the bands of power from the Moon Eye Key, which is from some of my training with the Four Winds Light Body School. I'm going to be throwing in this because why? Because this activation in your energy field helps you to access in your energy field earth, water, fire, air, and ether, which is the last element, the 5th element. So beautiful, beautiful. Really excited to be offering you this as part of this 8-week journey into the mystery that will be unfolding just starting next week, actually on October 11th. So I hope that you can join us. I'll put details in the group. You can actually see this offer. Okay, so today we're going to be working with our inquiry. We're going to be working with the wind. And so get your inquiry sheet. And at the top it says, I desire help with this inquiry today. So just take a moment and consider the element of wind and write down a question that you would like support with. Okay. And now to my aid comes wind. And we're going to talk about the medicine of wind in just a moment. First, we'll select our state of being. So calling on the element of wind, of course, we know we're already on sacred space. We've already established that. We called on the 4 directions, Mother Earth, Father Sky, Great Spirit. And so now we're going to see what wind wants to share with us about the state of being that we are working with as we are approaching our challenge, our inquiry today. So close your eyes, just go inside, be with wind, and listen for a number from 1 to 12. Okay. And see if you can find that number on the sheet. Getting better at this. And take that word that you see and write that on your inquiry sheet where it says, invite me to be state of being. And now we're going to check in with wind about the mastery principles. So just kind of go into your heart, access wind, and listen for a number of 1 to 12. And now see if you can find that number and see what word is associated, and write that word on the principle of mastery line as I master principle of mastery. Okay. And we'll come back to the last line, therefore I am, after we have a conversation about wind. So the element of wind, the element of air, as we discussed, all of these elements are part of our human experience. And what I might not have said is that all of these elements are actually in our very bodies. So we discussed yesterday that Water comprises 70% of our human body. That's a lot of percentage of our body is devoted to water. So of course, how we interact with water, how we interact with intention, the water is going to carry that intention through our every cell of our bodies. So really important to work with water in a mindful way. And we first started with fire. And fire is that spark, that passion that you feel in your heart, that motivation, that determination in your will center to keep going, to light that fire within and to keep moving forward. Fire is in our very bodies in terms of motivating us with energy and helping us to accomplish the things we want to accomplish. So fire is very motivational, also very transformational when we use it in this way. In transformation work, we can use it, as we said, to release old energies that don't serve and to empower ourselves, to bring the fire to ourselves, to bring that energy. So what's the role of wind? And we'll talk about earth tomorrow. But so wind is our breath. Wind is our breath. The breath comes into our lungs. And the breath brings vital nutrients into our lungs. It brings oxygen into our bodies. And our cells need oxygen in order to operate, in order to function. So how deeply we breathe means how deeply we bring oxygen into our cells so we can function. So breath is very important for us. Our lungs fill up with oxygen, and then our cells, our mitochondria in our cells, take that oxygen and start creating magic with it, alchemy, and giving us energy, producing energy for us. So when we talk about oxygen, we want to start looking at how deeply do you breathe? Most people breathe, especially women, can breathe very shallowly. This is a conditioned pattern to breathe shallow. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be discovered, so. Or even stopping breathing altogether, waiting to see what's going to happen. Not breathing. So when we breathe, a lot of people breathe from the chest. But actually, the healthier breathing is from the diaphragm, from the belly. We want to get deep belly breaths in. I've actually worked with some clients who are so accustomed throughout their entire lives from shallow breathing in the chest, which, by the way, causes anxiety. Number one cause of anxiety, shallow breathing. When your body doesn't get enough air to operate, it gets anxious because it's afraid of dying. So there's a really good reason why your body gets anxious when you shallow breathe. So you want to give yourself really deep breaths. I had this client who couldn't do it. She literally could not take a deeper breath in. So you want to work with yourself on that. You really want to work with yourself to start elongating your breath and deepening your breath way down deep into your belly to the place where your belly expands on the inhale and contracts on the exhale. And the longer the breath, the better the breath. Because when we breathe deep and long, we start to transition our bodies out of fight or flight because now it's going, okay, good, I'm getting breath, I'm going to live. I got breath, I'm going to live. Okay, great. Once it relaxes because it's getting its needs met, the longer and deeper the breaths that you take, you transition your mind out of beta brain, which is the go, 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 do, get, into alpha state, which is a dreamy state, and then theta state, which is even dreamier. And it's that trance state that we live with a soft gaze on life. Instead of that beta brain, hard focus, get it done, do, right now, have the answer, razor's edge, that brain is very stressful to live with, and most people live with that brain. So I'm encouraging you to not do that, to live with the alpha and the theta brains, which at first feel very soft and unproductive. But the longer you stay with those brains and you learn to work with that dreamy brain, the longer you stay there, the more life just sort of reveals the answer to you. So it's less about hunting it down and being right, and it's more about being curious and opening and unfolding to it. And the genius happens in the alpha and the theta brains, not in the beta brain. The genius never happens in beta brain, ever, because beta brain is linked to the survival brains, the limbic and reptilian brains, which are ancient brains for survival in humanity. These are not genius brains. These brains keep you alive, thank you, but these brains never have genius. The genius only comes from the spaciousness you give yourself to relax, to breathe deeply, to get into your body, to trust, to listen, have curiosity, and that breath, that long, deep breath is what gets you there. So let's have an experience of some breath and just see what happens when we use the breath. So we're going to do a 4-4-4 breath, and we're going to do it for a count of 4. So I'm going to ask you to breathe in for the count of 4, hold at the top for a count of 4, holding your breath in, releasing for a count of 4 to release the breath, and holding the breath out for 4, count of 4, before we breathe in again for a count of 4. So let's take a deep breath to release all the breath that's in us. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding top, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding top, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding top, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding top, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding out, 1, 2, 3, 4. And closing your eyes and going into the center of the sanctuary, the wise ones, the ancient ones, with their thick, thick trunks and their roots stretching deep into the earth underneath us, their branches reaching high overhead. And wind, spirit of wind, joins us to share messages about its medicine for you. So take a few moments and listen to wind. And now asking wind, what is wind's relationship with your word? How your word is expressed? Listen for that answer. And now ask wind, what's the power of your song when carried on the winds from your heart? Ask the winds. And now asking the winds for some insight into your inquiry today. What medicine can the wind offer you for today's inquiry? And in the bands of power from the Moonai Key, the winds are the silver band that comes from just above your heart all the way up through your throat. Your throat chakra is the most important chakra for expression of your sovereignty into this world. So, for that reason, many times we'll feel our throat constrict with negative energy or controlling paradigms. The throat is the place that constricts. And that's because your sovereignty is expressed through the word, through wind. So many times I've done shamanic healings with clients where their first place that I look to see if there's blockages or um, entities that are kind of constricting the throat chakra. I look here at the throat. I look there first because that's where the constriction is happening. And oftentimes we close down our own throat chakra because we are afraid of what will happen if we speak up. We're afraid of what will happen if we express our truth, if we share vulnerably. We are afraid of rejection. We're afraid of attack. We're afraid of not belonging anymore if we speak up, if we share. And this is the call forth now at this time of the Great Awakening, at this time of becoming sovereign, is to claim your voice and to speak your truth and to learn how to speak that truth from transparency, vulnerability, love and compassion and empathy. And this is the age of relationships. This age of Aquarius is a dawning of relationships. Relationship between yourself, how you speak to yourself, what words you use to speak to yourself. Are they compassionate? Are they loving? Are they empathic? Do you care? Is it coming from the bottom of your heart when you speak lovingly to yourself, or do you let that inner critic use your voice to speak something really painful? How do we speak to others in our families, in our business communities, in our world? How do we speak to others and of others? Do we gossip? Do we say negative things from a distance out of fear of saying it to the person directly? How do we speak about our planet? Are we grateful for the gifts of our planet? Or do we speak in a complaining way about our life experience here on Earth? These are all things that the spirit of wind asks us to look at deeply and consider, because the quality of how you use your word with the wind is going to influence the quality of your life experience. And since I want everybody to have a beautiful life experience, of course I invite you to come learn more with me about the wind. So, back to your sheet. I desire help with this inquiry today. What was your inquiry? To my aid comes wind, who offers me, what's the medicine that wind is offering you today? Write that on that line. And wind invites me to be, what's the state of being? As I master, what's the principle of mastery? Therefore I am. Go inside for just a moment. Therefore, given all of this, I am. And write that down on that line and contemplate that day. Spend some time today really getting breath into your body, really breathing. Notice when you stop breathing and take that deep breath. Notice when you get into beta brain and your busy hard edge focus. Notice how your body contracts and take a moment and open that breath up. Do that 4-4-4 breathing. Practice that again. Notice how you can shift into that other way of looking at life through the soft focus. And notice the dreamy way that things can just unfold in that space. Practice that today. Practice working with wind. Call on the winds to support you today. And for me, my message was, therefore I am being impeccable with my word, because always in my teachings are the four agreements. And if you haven't read this book yet, I really recommend it. The first agreement of the four agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz is be impeccable with your word. And the wind is all about this. Be impeccable with your word. So I welcome you today to this inquiry, and we'll see you tomorrow back here the same time, 10:30 a.m. Central, to work with the element of earth. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Bye for now.